Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first ever episode of, what are we calling this?
Your channel
This is
says
your
like
job.
LeBron politics. Wow. First
yeah.
DMNA.
I mean,
You what are we calling this?
I mean, I don't know. Like, we're calling it
Eberron.
Dungeons and Dragons in Eberron. That's what we're calling it. Yeah, awesome, cool.
Clever.
Yeah.
That's yeah. We need to hire some new writers. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, you know the writers on this, yeah, they're absolute shit. I can tell you that. So,
Yeah.
what's up, everybody? How's everybody doing tonight? Good?
Yeah. Good.
You excited?
Grand.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Very
Definitely.
excited.
Well, we're going to do super quick introduction, and then I'm going to start describing the world and what it is that we're going to be doing today. So let's first start off with introductions. We have over here, I don't know, Kunsai, is that how you pronounce it? My little brother Eric. We have over here, Rinsin, or my future sister Erin. We have down here, Will Call Brewing, or some douche with a beard. Oh, my other brother. I don't know, it seems like a family thing. Then we have over here Olirant, or Ollie, who is a guy. I literally found him like in the dregs of the internet. It was literally one of those, I was trolling around in one of those like it wasn't even 4chan. It was like way down deep in the internet. And like this like sprout just, screw it, let's harvest it and bring it with us. You know, he
You were on 9 gag, weren't you?
Little bog goblin.
Yeah. So anyways, no, Ollie is a wonderful artist that does some amazing art for Lost Initiative. So I was like, yeah, he seems like a halfway decent person. You know, he's, yeah. And so we brought him on. Anyways, so what are we doing, guys? I suppose to set it up, we are going to be playing Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition with some modifications, because we're going to be playing in Eberron, which isn't currently supported entirely by Wizards for 5th edition. So, you know, a little bit of house ruling here, a little bit of tweaking there to make it work. So, what is Eberron? Eberron is a world in Dungeons & Dragons. It has, it's actually the name of the planet is Eberron. The story for, you know, you can either look it up or we'll get into it as the game goes on. But on Eberron, there's a bunch of different continents. The one where we're going to be focusing our campaign on is on a continent named Corvair. Corvair has a bunch of different countries in it, but there are 5 main countries, really the only ones worth noting, haha, rip. And those countries are, as I look to a map to remind myself, it's on my wall, they are Ondair, Breland, Thrain, and Karnath, and the last one, Sire, has been blown up and is now called the Mournlands. Now, quick little history, because that's not fun to listen to for a long time. This continent was once ruled by a human empire called the Galifar Empire. Now, there was King Galifar and all of his little scions, blah, 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 blah. Every time the ruler died, they would pass on the throne to one of the scions, rules aside. When the last king died, they passed it on to one of their children. The other 4 children weren't a fan of that, and this eventually led to a huge war. It's literally called the Last War. The reason why it's called the Last War is it lasted 98 years. I mean, imagine a continent-wide civil war that lasted 98 years. It's mind-boggling, the death toll that happened because of this. That war ended about 2 years ago, and so that's where we're going to be picking up the game, is with the war having ended about 2 years ago. And the tensions between those countries are very high. See, during the end of the war, they signed a treaty called the Treaty of Thronehold, where they recognized them as 5 different sovereign nations, though again, one of them blew up, and a whole bunch of other different sovereign nations. Some ruled by dwarves, some ruled by halflings, and, you know, broken up all over the place. But that stuff aside, I think I'll put a map. I think I'm going to link a map below before next week. So the tensions are very high between these nations. It makes for a very interesting political situation to be sitting in. Beyond that, in this world, there is something called the Dragon-Marked Houses. The Dragon-Marked Houses are merchants guilds, effectively, of extreme power. Now, these houses were formed around these certain bloodlines that were able to form these magical dragon marks. They're literally magic tattoos that appear on people's body. You can't discern who's going to get them or when they're going to happen, but they appear on people's bodies and they give them magical powers. Not everybody in the house has these marks, and not everybody that gets a mark was in the house to begin with, though they were part of the bloodline, just probably a bastard somewhere along the way, and they usually get, abducted into the house and at a later date. So like I said, there were 13 houses. One got destroyed. There's now 12 houses. The reason why this is pertinent, why I bring it up now, is because 2 of our players happen to be part of these Dragon Mark houses, hence the last names on their character sheets having the weird little D and apostrophe. Usually that D is lowercase, but the De Orion or De Denith means that they are a part of that Dragon Marked house, each of them having their own merchant skills that do wonderful things, and you'll learn that as we get deep into the lore. Beyond that, we have Ollie is playing an elf from Aranel. Aranel is a continent just to the south and a little bit to the east of Corvair. It is the continent where pretty much all elves come from. Maybe not originally, but now. Pretty much all elves come there. Their culture there is very, very, very unique. And I'm not going to describe it because I think Ollie's going to have a lot of fun doing that himself and being weird.
Being foreign.
Yeah,
Say it.
Yeah, okay. Well, you are the only non-American amongst us, so might as well just point it out. You got a funny accent, buddy. Your culture's a little weird. So, and and then we have another creature with a different background. Over here, we have a hobgoblin being played.
Yeah,
Hobgoblins.
let's be real here. If we're talking about outsiders, I'm a fucking hobgoblin versus these people. So
What? No.
I'm the real outsider here.
Hobgoblins are cool. Yo, Will. Luca likes hobgoblins, right?
Yeah, I don't have an issue with them.
Yeah. Hey, Odette. How do you feel about hobgoblins?
Not great.
Well, you better learn to like them. You will learn to love me. I'm a very personable guy.
Awesome. Okay, and then so bringing it back in, that's kind of like the bit of a history of what the world is, where it is that we're going to be playing. Now, where we're going to start this whole game is in the center of the continent, all the way down to the south, is a city called Sharn. Sharn, the City of Towers. If you've ever seen Fifth Element, that's the best way to describe it, but I'm going to describe it just in case you haven't. This city has literally towers that stretch further than you can possibly imagine. I mean, these towers are impossibly tall. The reason why they're able to be so is because of the leaking in or manifestation zone of a different plane of existence over in this region, but those details don't matter so much. What you have to understand is you can literally spend an entire day walking up the stairwell to one of the taller towers and never get to the top of it. You would have to rest and finish it the next day. And because of that, there's a lot of like magical transportation to go up and down and throughout the levels, because it's not just New York City wide, it's also that width and then some tall. And then even above those towers is little chunks of land with towers atop of them that float above the rest of the towers. And then of course the structure, the cultural structure, and the socioeconomic structure is based very much on a altitude. The further down you go, not the nicest of neighborhoods. The further up you go, you get all the sunlight and the clean air, so it's wonderful. We're starting in Sharn. We're actually going to be starting in Sharn at a nightclub. The nightclub is named the Pyrohydra Hall. Now, this nightclub happens to be operated by one of the Dragon Mark houses. It is operated by the House of Fairlawn. Fairlawn is an elf-only house. It's literally only elves that can bear the mark. These elves can bear the mark of shadow. Now, the elves of House Fairlawn have a guild of entertainers. They make, if you think Cirque du Soleil quality acrobats, I mean, we're talking about elves here, they're extremely dexterous. They come up with amazing innovations of what they can do with music, with dance, with acrobatics, with everything. This is the greatest entertainers. These are the greatest entertainers that all of this planet has to offer, theoretically. I mean, they are incredible in what it is that they can do. So, you guys are going to this house to see this show that they have going on there. Now, the reason why it's named the Pyrohydra Hall is because one of the things it's known for is if you ever get a ticket to see one of the shows here, there are always 5 acts named after the Hydra, which is the symbol of that house. There are always 5 acts, and the last act obviously being the grand finale, the huge show. And it is almost always, and I mean like very rare circumstance, that it is not a member of the house itself that holds that 4th act. And then, the further down you go, it could be different peoples from different places. The other reason why it's called the Pyrohydra Hall is because it's known for its effects and pyrotechnics and whatnot. There are a lot of amazing things that you can see here, that just like lights and flashes and explosions and stuff like that that really capture the audience. Tickets to go to the show are not cheap and certainly not affordable by most people. However, the four of you were able to procure a ticket for one reason or another. Whether it be because somebody had given it to you because they wanted to see a show here and you were like really needed to meet them for a business meeting, and so you had your meeting before the show and you were like, I'm here, might as well see the show. I don't have any other plans for the night. Or maybe it was given to you as part of as a reward for a task that you had done for somebody in the past. Maybe you scraped one up off the bottom of the ground and you're like, oh, I'm Charlie and I found my golden ticket. Whatever the case may be, Luca. Whatever the case may be, you happen to come across one of these tickets and you were in Sharn to see the show, and you were here to see the show. And actually, it's kind of a unique show, of course, because there are 4 PCs meeting there. Of course, it's going to be a unique show. The person that happens to be the headline of the show happens to be none other than Dane DeLeander. Now, that is another Dragonmarked house, so it's very, 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 very rare that one of them would have the headline show, especially somebody from the DeLeander house. That's the house that handles elementally bound flying airships or elementally bound sailing ships, literally huge rings of magical elemental energy that push these ships through the air or push these ships through the water. They handle that kind of stuff. They have the mark of the storm. The greatest marks can control the weather, but not this man. No. He doesn't have a mark. But what he does have is a voice and a lot of charisma. And he's made his mark on this world as an incredible performer. Now, how is it that he did so? Well, why don't we, I suppose, start off the game with a history check to see what these characters know about this Dragonmarked house. Now, before we roll those checks, one of the house rules that I had thrown into this game, and I don't think I linked it down below yet, but it will be in the future, is that all of these characters have a little tweak to their characters. They have 3 different skills that they just happen to be very good at, and they always have advantage on these skills. Something that makes it so it shines their characters' backgrounds through. And they have one thing, it's a bigger thing, that they always roll at disadvantage. And this might apply to one of them, which is why I'm reminding them of these features. So that being said, everybody make a history check for me about Dane DeLeander.
Well,
Do I
there
get
you go.
advantage on this one?
Because it does actually apply to me. But the question I have is, how do I set it up so I can see like the advantage on my character sheet?
1 second. If that's not... Oh, the toggle's not set for you. And I'm going to go across everybody's character sheet and make sure toggle is now set. Is there for you, Eric? Will?
Yes.
You had advantage.
Yes, I did. And it didn't
Stalwart?
really do anything for me.
I changed you so that you have toggle. And Odette, you have yours set up. So, everybody roll for me what would be the correct roll and tell me what you got.
Okay, I got
was to do it
19.
again.
Yeah.
Not great.
Ollie, you would, and I believe with disadvantage.
Oh, I have. Okay, makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. Well. Not working now? I've never been a player before. Give me.
It'll come
Aha!
There's actually a fun fact
Ooh.
for you guys while we're waiting for him to roll through. Ollie here has been a DM of several different campaigns over on his own, but has never been a PC before. Never. And so we're here to torture him because it's fun. So, so we have both Luca and Stalbor both know, and Odette would know this, but appropriately, Reich, my apologies, does not know this.
Goblins don't know anything.
So
That's racism.
What? Oh.
I'm an elf.
So you guys know that Dane is actually the son of Halabar DeLeandar. Now the reason why his name really rings out to the point that even somebody from Arano would know his name is because he was one of the greatest sky captains that the last war ever saw. Now whereas the houses never took sides, they never picked sides in the war. They are separated from the political structure of Eberron Beyond. They did still sell their services to the highest bidders, whoever they may be. So let's say Odette's family, they sold their services of transporting goods or soldiers to the highest bidder. Luca's house would literally sell soldiers, like warriors, to the highest bidder, and others that were behind them. But then we have Deleander that would sell the airship, so usually transportation of troops or airstrikes or whatever the case may be, from the fastest things that that the realm has to offer. I mean, no form of transportation is better than an airship, right, Odette? No form of transportation is better than an airship in Eberron. Right, Odette?
Absolutely not. Death traps. Do not. Don't.
So what you guys know is that he was one of the greatest sky captains that the last war had to offer. He had the ability to get troops in and out of even the most difficult situations, even with an awkwardly large ship, and almost everybody would get out of there alive. He was incredible with how it is that he could pivot his ships and whatnot. He is heralded and has received medals from multiple nations throughout the last war. He is a half-elf, of course, because it's half-elves that have the Mark of Storm. I think I said elf or something earlier, but it's half-elves that have the Mark of Storm. He's a half-elf, and so he himself has seen most of the war, being in his late 60s or early 70s. So his son, Dane, well, he grew up very wealthy because of who his father was, never participated in the war whatsoever, honed his skills as a singer, and as soon as the war ended, went on tour and started reaping in his own wealth from the fame that he was able to get from his father. He used those contacts to start setting himself up, and bam, here he is raking in the gold. And for the first time ever, actually at a show at the Pyrohydra Hall. And you guys have tickets to see the show. So, as you guys enter into the hall and see how it's set up, the way that you go in, the way you enter into the hall is through the most majestic looking of entrances, where you produce your ticket and you can show it to people. You can try to purchase one outside if there happens to be one left, but let's be serious. There's a ticket sitting now. No, they're all gone. So when you go walking in, it is beautiful. The red carpets that go between that lead from one doorway to the next one. The ornate tapestries that are all over the walls of various performances, just like an homage to prior shows that have done so well. There are tapestries from all over Corvair, from all the different performances they've done. Even tapestries representing times that they've left Corvair and did performances in other continents as well. I mean, this is just an amazing theater to walk into. And of course, it is very ostentatious. I mean, the gold trim over there, the bright colors everywhere. It's something that you would find almost tacky if it didn't work so well, if it didn't really capture your eye with everywhere you go. And being being three of your characters' first times ever walking in here, I imagine Luca, this would really capture your eye as just absolutely beautiful. I mean,
yeah.
The quality of artwork here is just amazing. It really captures your eye. Stalbar, even though this may not be something that you hold near and dear to your heart, you really have to give it to them for being as for being as removed from your culture as they are. These elves here, they still know the finer points of making art. Reich, you probably don't care. And Odette, you've been here many times beforehand. This is not your first time to this theater, though it is your first time seeing the show. So, I mean, you walk in with, the typical air of, I belong here, and why is somebody standing in my way? And as you guys are walking through the area and producing your tickets, you're led to the different balconies. Now, the stage is slightly set above the bottom floor, the actual floor seats. The floor seats happen to be the second cheapest seats in the house. The ones that are on the floor. Because when you're down on the floor, you have to, crane your neck up to see the show, and it's up there and you miss certain details of it or whatever. So I mean, nobody really wants the floor seats. You guys don't have those. You actually have not the first balcony of seats, because the first balcony of seats, those are still kind of awkwardly just above where the stage is, and you can see things pretty well. But because of the way it's positioned, if you have the front seats, sure, great seats, and the service there is pretty good. You know what I mean? They're the second most expensive seats you can get your hands on. But if you're in the back part of this balcony, you guys are actually in the second balcony, which has a bit of a lift to it. It has a stadium seating kind of set to it, where you can see the stage in all of its glory, all the effects, all of the sounds, all of everything is designed for these seats, so you can catch every bit of it. And beyond that, you guys have front row seats to this, where you can literally see everything that's going on before you in the most beautiful and most spectacular of lighting. Then there's, of course, 3 more rows of balconies above you guys, and who wants to sit there? I mean, you guys are at the spot where literally your tickets already cover your food and drink. I mean, unless you're getting something absolutely ridiculous, your tickets already cover your food and drink, so you're comfortable, you're good to go. I mean, you can literally get any service here that you would like. That is, of course, legal, and enjoy it, because this is designed for your pleasure in every way, of course. So, here you guys are walking into the theater and kind of brought up to this balcony and taking in the sights. You don't even get to waste your time looking at the other balconies. You see this one. The comfort of the seats. They almost look like miniature thrones. The servers around. As soon as you walk into the doorway, there is an absolutely stunning server that's standing before you, whether they be male or female. They are elf. They are working for the House Fairlawn, and they are dressed to kill, dressed to the nines, and they're there to serve you, to take whatever order it is you want, or serve you whatever it is that they have on their platter. And I imagine you take food or place an order immediately to have brought over to you, and it comes very, very quickly, because of course, even though it's a House Fairlawn establishment, it is a different house, the House of Hospitality, that provides all the food and drink here. We won't go into that. You guys take in the view, maybe even intermingle with peoples that you might know. Could you do me a favor really quickly? Odette and Luca, could you roll for me a charisma check to see if there's anybody here you know?
Sure thing. Just flat charisma?
Flat charisma, yep.
Oh, sorry. I do not have advantage on that. There you go.
Okay. So, Luca, surprisingly enough, you actually do see somebody you know. It is somebody that has a decently higher rank than you in House Deneath, that is across the way and is carousing with others. So, I mean, how much interaction you want to have with this person? I mean, his name is it's Colonel Gregor. So you can go up to Colonel Gregor if you'd like and introduce yourself or have a quick conversation. He might not know who you are, but you would definitely know who he is. However, Odette, you also see people in here you like. Coincidentally, the people you see in here all happen to be members of House Lyrandar. There's a group of 6 of them. And you look across the way, you know all of their names. And just seeing them has already kind of soured your mood and ruined this performance a little bit.
Yeah. So I will make my way elsewhere as far as possible.
Absolutely. And Luca, what do you choose to do?
I'm going over with a drink in hand, and I'm gonna go talk to the colonel.
Awesome. So you go and talk to the colonel.
Yep.
As you go up to the colonel to have a conversation with him, do you like how do you approach it? Because again, he's
So I kind of like.
others.
So he's talking in a group. I assume it's very friendly speak. It's not like matters of business. Does it seem like it's all right? So I go over there and I'm just kind of standing within earshot, and I'm waiting for like the properly timed step in and laugh at a joke type of to get myself into the group's conversation, not just to address him one-on-one.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you do just that. You wait for the perfect moment where he seems as though like maybe somebody told a light joke as a conversation was ending and you kind of like were walking by, or however you had played it, to make your way in. Can you do me a favor? Just to make it as discreet as possible, roll me another flat charisma check. Actually, roll for me with advantage because of your method that you just used there. And
Sure.
It's your introduction.
There you go.
Perfect. So you had timed it perfectly to make your way into the conversation. Laughing is what you call it. One of the other people just kind of casually moves out of the way so you can step into the circle. And, people turn to note you, and whether it be a nod or a smile, nobody like openly like, oh, hi, how are you? How do you approach it? What do you say?
I laugh at the joke, and I wait to see if the conversation picks back up, and if it doesn't, I'm just want to introduce myself to the colonel. Let him know, like, I'll say something along the lines of, "Oh, you probably don't even know me, but I just wanted to say hi and make sure that I got to meet you."
Oh, and it's a pleasure to meet you too, young man. What's your name? What's your family?
I hold out my hand and I say, the name's Luca de Deneath.
Oh, Luca. Oh, and you I see you. He looks like at your armor or whatever it is that you might be wearing, you know, or maybe not even armor. Maybe are you wearing nicer clothes and not your breastplate?
Yeah, I'm wearing my nicer clothes at this point. Yeah.
Okay. Do you bear a mark on you as to what rank you are?
I do not. No.
Okay. So he kind of like casually looks you over. You can clearly tell he's seeing what your rank is, but he does it quickly. You can see that that's what he's doing, but he does it quickly. And then he's like, "It's a pleasure to meet you, young man. So I see you've found your way to quite the amazing performance. How is it that you have procured these tickets?"
My mother surprised me with the ticket.
Oh, a gift from your mother. And who's your mother?
Oh crap! I forgot her name.
Yes!
I wrote it down in my
I don't
notes.
get to be
Damn
the
it!
first one stoned to their names. Oh.
I wrote it all down though.
That's okay. While you look that up, it's really funny. I couldn't think of an NPC's name in the last Lost Initiative stream I did. So literally, somebody subscribed during like my 2-minute, brain fart, and so I was like, let's just use the person who just subscribes name, and it worked out perfectly. So we actually
I have
an
worse.
NPC named after that. What's
I
up?
named an NPC Google in a flumbled moment. Like a little tiefling child was named Google.
That's actually an appropriate race to do that to.
It's actually like not that bad a name, but they knew. They knew.
All right, so
I can't find it right now, to be honest. But
so my mom's name.
You don't know
is
your own mom's
blank.
name?
Yep. Nope. He doesn't. Listen, I have 4 mothers IRL, and
Yeah,
I
you
know
do.
all their names. So go ahead, Will.
all right, her name is
Blank for now. That's fine. Blank.
Blank for now. Blank for now. That's what I say. And then
Wow.
yeah, I say her name and just say she takes care of me.
Oh yes, I know of her, and she married. What's your father's name?
My father's name was Nico, actually, I believe.
Okay. And she married Nico. Am I not mistaken?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
As a matter of fact, I do know who you are. You're that twin boy.
I nod. So you've heard of my brother?
I'm sorry. Was it your brother that served in the war?
Yes.
Well then, yes, I have heard of your brother. He's an incredible and brave soldier, and he's a wonderful fighter, and he has certainly serviced the family well and brought much honor to your father.
I nod to that. I'm just like, okay. Don't really comment more on it.
And unless I'm DM forgetting a detail here, and he goes, and I'm sorry if I'm bringing up bad news, but any word of your sister?
No, not right now, actually.
Again, I'm sorry to bring it up. I was hoping to hear good news, and
No.
I wish the blessings of the host for you and your family.
I nod to that, and I'm very grateful.
Please, and he calls over a waitress. He's like, get this man a glass of whatever wine you have, the finest one that you have. Yes, that'll do, as she says the name of some wine that you've never heard of, or maybe you have. Could you roll for me a history check, please?
All right. History check.
You just know that the name is Elvin. You don't know where the wine is from or anything about it. So
Okay.
So you make your history check, and you aren't sure what the wine is, but I'm sure you thank him.
Yep. I kind of like had my drink in hand, and I quickly just down it and put it on her tray, and I thank him immediately. Like I had a full drink, but yeah, I'm like I'm not gonna say no.
And with that, he gives you like a very polite like bow, but it's one of those things where in your culture he would bow to you slightly and you would bow to him much more. But it's not like it's not Asian culture. Sorry, not Asian. I should say Eastern culture, where it's like a deep bow. It's like a slight,
Yep. I returned the bow deeper than he did.
And then he would turn and walk off to perhaps find his seat or whatever it is he's doing. Now, since you got the first moment, could you do me a favor and describe your character for us? Even though we have beautiful artwork that portrays you
Beautiful
well.
art.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm a human. I'm 6 foot tall. I have brownish, reddish hair, blue eyes. Typically, you'll see me in breastplate, but right now I'm wearing attire to be at this nightclub. I can't think of anything else to describe right now in character.
Okay.
Why are you dancing?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was at the nightclub. You know, I was just kind of like getting in the mood.
Oh.
Yeah.
I
Okay. How tall are you? How much you weigh?
said 6 feet tall. I don't know if you heard.
Yeah.
Probably weigh 200.
Nice. Awesome. So, tall in height, decent in build, and you've got, what is it? A strong jaw and clean-shaven face, yes?
Yep, clean shaven, strong jaw. Absolutely.
Awesome. As Odette makes her way over to her seat, finding out where it is, because she didn't need any guidance. She saw the ticket. She sat in the seat, or at least near it before, so she was easily able to find her way over to it without anybody's aid. You go to pull up your seats, or maybe grab a drink or whatever it is along the way. While you're doing this, could you please describe Odette in the garment that she's wearing as of right now?
Of course. Odette is a young woman. She has long red hair that is usually twisted and tied in elaborate braids. For now, she's wearing a very fancy hat, which we'll take off and put into her lap once the show starts. She is dressed in a beautiful teal gown of the current under fashion, whatever that might be. Long flowing sleeves and dresses and beautiful golden adornments. And that's Odette.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you go over and you find your seat. Reich, you walking in here, I'm saying that correctly, right? Reich?
Yes, right.
Okay, I just want to make sure I don't, because I had Reek in my head earlier as like a joke, and now it's hard to get it out. So, anyways, Reich, you make your way into the place, and maybe you feel uncomfortable here. Maybe you feel as though, I don't know, how do you feel walking into this house establishment with all of these fancily dressed people? How are you dressed right now? Please describe.
Well, I look very out of place because I'm wearing breastplate. I have pretty basic clothing. It looks like well kempt. Obviously, it's new. I'm no slouch, but it is nowhere near as nice as everyone else. It actually looks like I might have traveled in my clothing for a little while. But I wear a pretty nice set of breastplate over my clothing, and I mean, would they have forced me to give my weapons at the door?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those you wouldn't be able to bring your weapons in.
Because my character, he would bring his weapons if they asked for his weapons. He'd check them, but he's not.
They would take them out the door. Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, I wear.
Actually, sorry. I imagine an awkward moment where you go walking through and like, sir, excuse me, sir, you can't bring those in there, and like you kind of look, and then just keep no, and then somebody actually has to go up to you and be like, no, I'm sorry, sir, you cannot bring your weapons in here. Oh. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
I'd turn him over without argument at that point. But yeah, but I wear a pretty nice set of breastplate and some rather simple clothing underneath that. Though I am probably towering over most people at a hefty 6'6", and I weigh just over 280 pounds. So I'm kind of a stocky, but actually relatively slender for a hobgoblin. Most other hobgoblins are much more stocky, but I definitely look very out of place in this. I have a kind of darkish green skin with relatively unkempt hair. It is currently tied back in like a small knot at the bottom of my hair. It looks like I didn't take a whole lot of time to clean up before this. And the most definite feature is that over my left eye I have a long scar that kind of goes from the top of my forehead down to just about the middle of my cheek on the left hand side.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. So when you're walking in, people actually do look around and notice you, but they don't notice you. It's one of those things where they don't look at you and kind of like judge you because of your race. They don't like. It's not like they're looking like, ooh, look at that hobgoblin here. No, look at that hobo. They're actually looking, and they're kind of like looking at your clothing, the fact that you have like armor on and stuff like that, and the fact that it's not like super ornate or as finely dressed as them. Maybe you could get by in a different area, but whereas everybody here is dressed so well, even the servants that are here are dressed so well, you stand out because of that. And so your character is actually pretty insightful, and so you do kind of gather this as they're as you walk in, and every once in a while a casual glance is tossed your way. I would probably say the one that would toss you the longest and most lingering glance of distaste would happen to be a young woman, not too tall in stature, with red hair that's in tight braids, wearing some nice gown, and yeah, she's kind of tossing you probably the most judgmental eyes.
You're getting side eye from her, definitely.
And then lastly, just so we can finish the descriptions, Stalbor, what do you look like as you come walking into this place? The first time you've ever been into a theater since you've come to Corvair some time ago.
Yeah, Stalbor is an elf, but he's he the first when people look at him is like, is that what elves usually look like? I haven't seen a full-blooded elf for a while. His skin is pallid and borderline sickly. His hair is jet black and it's kept very neatly in a series of quite ornate braids, and his clothing is actually very ornate as well. It's very elven. It's very elven. It's very magical. And he literally has like a book, but it's clearly a spell book, basically like strapped to his chest like a baby. And he is giving everyone the side eye, but that might just be because his eyes look like they're like bleeding black ooze. He's just looking at everything. He's taken a glass. He's resting his hand on the book, and then is taking in everything. Looking weird. He's looking weird.
Looking weird. Well,
yeah.
Thank you for that description, Mr. Looking Weird. Awesome. So here we are. All of you guys go in and you find your seats. You find where it is that you want to go and get nice and comfortable. And eventually they do the lowering the lights and the lighting the lights, the lowering and lighting them. Now this is would be typically hard to do in maybe your general D&D world, where, I mean, what are you doing? Like putting covers over torches, over sconces for a moment to do a flickering of the lights? Well, one other thing about Eberron that makes it stand out so different. You see, Eberron is high fantasy of a world because there's so much magic and whatnot that exists here, but more than that, it doesn't have as high level of magic as, say, like in Faerun. In Faerun, another world that we tend to play in, you can literally like sneeze and oops, I just sneezed on a level 17 wizard that can cast a wish to alter the reality of the universe. In this world, high-level characters don't really exist. There are many low-level characters, but these characters are very industrious with the magics that they have because of the power, the greater magics that are granted by the dragon marks. You see, there is another house, House Cannith, that has the mark of making. They can literally produce all these crazy abilities. They have all these crazy things at rapid pace. So something like a light that's seemingly electric but controlled by magic. So imagine an entire theater with a whole bunch of little magic stones with what's that second level spell? Illusion spell that makes light. Help me out here, Aaron.
Daylight?
No, not daylight. That's third level. Second level spell that produces light as a continual flame. They cast continual flame on a whole bunch of stones and set them throughout the entire hall. But then they have like a magic command word that controls all of these stones. And you'll have somebody that has like the responsibility of saying the command words to turn them off and back on very easily. And it turns off and on and off and on. It's through the same industrious magical nature that people like Odette's house is able to produce that they're able to make their money. Odette, can you do me a favor? I mentioned the lightning rail earlier. Can you just really quickly, what is it that your house does to produce all of their money to be so wealthy? What magical, mechanical thing do you have in your steampunky world?
Wealthy.
House Orion started off developing trade routes, and during the beginning, I think, of the last war, they started to develop the Lightning Rail, which is a series of magical trains that run throughout all of Corvair, which is the continent that we're currently playing in.
Mm-hmm. Now, the reason why they're magical trains as opposed to locomotives is locomotives are literally trains that sit on a track. They burn coal to turn an engine, blah, blah, blah. You have the huge metal bars that move the wheels, and so chugga, 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 it moves along. That's not how this one works. The way this one works is on the ground, running throughout many different regions of Corvair where these trade routes are. There are these pyramids of magical energy that have all this like electrical magical energy like bound to them that push up at the train. So the train itself literally just sits there and magically hovers above these pillars because they push up a certain type of energy that the bottom of the train is able to collect. And then within the train itself, it has its own magical energies that simply push it forward. So if you understand the levitate spell at all, the levitate spell never allows you to go forward or backward, it only allows you to go up and down. Imagine every one of these little pyramids having a levitate spell, pushing everything above it up. But then the train itself, the lightning rail itself, has a different magical thing that pushes it forward or stops it, or on some occasions, maybe even pushes it backwards. And these things can move at tremendous speeds. Correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron, but I believe the better ones can get up to 30 miles per hour.
Yeah, they're crazy fast.
Yeah, 30 miles per hour.
A safer, more reliable, and frankly more enjoyable traveling experience than airships. Throw that out there.
Yeah, of course, yeah, because, airships can't go the way the eagle flies. So that's just an idea of like how industrious this world is and how little magic items are easy to get your hands on. For one more example, and then we're going to move on because I don't want to beat a dead horse. When everybody put whether it be their cloak that they took off or their weapons that they took off, and they stored them in House Farland, every single cubicle or cubby or locker that their items were stored into was magically enchanted with prestidigitation to automatically clean that item, shine that item, whatever the case may be. So if you put in there a cloak that's dirty or wet from coming in from the outside and it was raining out and you walked through mud, when you put your cloak back on leaving this house, no. It is beautiful, it is clean, it is good to go. In some places, maybe you can cast mending on it too, but not here, that's too much. So anyways, that is what they do.
Can we fit Reek into one of those lockers?
Whoa.
Right.
Whoa.
Oh, Reich, sorry. Not Reek, Reich.
Whoa.
Okay.
That was rough. Okay, so here we are, down to the show. So, when the first show begins, it is, as I described beforehand, there are many different types of acts. The first show is a one-person act, and they come out and they produce a huge lyre, not like a lap lyre or anything like that. A beautiful and ornate, gorgeous lyre. It is standing there in its fullest extent. It is a young female elf that does so. When I say young female elf, she's probably like 150, but that's young. So she sits down wearing her own gorgeous gown and whatnot, sits down in front of the lyre and starts playing her song, and it is beautiful. It's music to your ears. The performance is so incredible. It actually captures all of you guys very well. Could you do me a favor, please? Roll me a history check just to catch the meaning of it.
Where does this song come from?
Oh, jeez.
I'm sorry, Stalbor?
Where does this song come from? Because I may have advantage.
Corvair. No, you don't.
Jeepers creepers. Don't worry, advantage doesn't help you too much there.
No, doesn't know much about magic.
The one with
magic
disadvantage rolls
songs.
best.
I was supposed to
Reich would
disadvantage on
not
that.
have disadvantage on this. There's no reason to.
Yep.
It's just simply music. So if you'd like to re-roll without your disadvantage.
Yep, just forgot to unselect that.
One of the
Gosh.
best ways, just a point of advice, one of the best ways to do this is to, does Twitch say that we're offline at the moment?
No?
You're still here for me.
Okay,
I'm on
cool.
Twitch, not see us.
So anyways, you got a 13, you still rolled the highest, that's awesome. So one of the best things that all of you guys can do if you haven't already done it is pop out your character sheet and keep it to the side of the actual screen so you always have it open and available for you so you can always see it. It's not in the way of the map or the chat or anything else that you're trying to do. That is just a suggestion. Okay, so sorry, just my dashboard looks a little funny, not a big deal. All right, so moving on. Actually, the only person here that knows what this is, and it's very appropriate that you do, is because this song actually has to do with a battle that happens near the earlier parts of the war. With a battle that happens between Breland, which is the country that you guys are in right now, and the peoples of what is now Dargun, which is the country that Reich is from. It is where most goblinoids and orcs and like that and people like that are from. So it's actually about a battle that happened back then, and it's the telling of that story, and it is a beautiful telling of that story. However, much to Reich's dismay, the telling of the story with the slight amount of song that she puts into it, because she only says so many verses, and she sings them so quiet that you have to strain your ears to hear them, but everybody can hear them. the words that she says and the way that she plays the music to tell the story, it puts the goblinoids in the wrong and how their actions were negative actions that happened. However, they are still it's still a beautiful song even if the history was wrong. Moving on to the next performance. The next performance is actually that of, as I had said beforehand, there's almost like a Cirque du Soleil kind of feel to it. So when the performance happens, the people come out and they are incredible acrobats. The way that they're able to jump and flip and do this and do that, it will blow your mind. And once again, just the way that they're telling the story, and we're just going to hold this history check for the next two, and we'll roll another one for after that. The way that this one tells the story is, once again, it's about another battle. But this one is actually about the ongoing war that happened heavily between Thrain and Karnath. Now, I know you rolled only a 6 there, Luca, but you know this story very well, and the visual aid is able to help you out. Thrain being another one of the countries, Thrain being very pious and actually happens to be under the rule, happens to be a theocracy. It's under the rule of a church over there. And Karnath having used many, many undead as part of their war. Yes, that's a bit of history we're going to get into in the future. It's about the war that's going on there. And once again, how Karnath were the losers in this war and their actions and what they did were the wrong actions. And how Thrain was triumphant over them because they happened to carry, the righteous might of a glorious god behind them.
Mm-hmm.
After this telling of the story, and of course, again, Reich caught that meaning as well. You are also very familiar with the undead of Karnath. Even if you've never served beside them, you know of them fairly well from stories from your homeland. Yeah. The next performance is a performance that has multiple people doing it. So there's many different instruments playing, and there are a few different singers, one primary singer and a few backup singers and whatnot. And they produce a myriad of sounds. I mean, the high notes, the low notes, the way that everything carries. And it once again tells of a huge, huge, huge battle that happens. I mean, this is a very long performance. No, this is medium length. My apologies. Next one. This is a medium performance talking about a battle that took place with 3 different nations fighting at once. This is actually a battle that took place with Breland, Ondair, and Thrain all fighting one another. As a matter of fact, this battle started off with Ondair and Thrain assisting each other, being partners, and fighting Breland together. However, the general that was in charge of the Ondarian army at the time made a, we'll say, miscalculated step, and they actually turned against their Thrain allies there, hoping to make a double victory in this battle, take down an army that they wouldn't have to deal with in the future. And they, because of their action, they ended up being defeated on both sides by the Thrainish and Breland armies. They turned on their ally too soon. And when Breland and Thrain clashed, Breland actually came out on top as the best warriors of them all, Ondair being horribly defeated and Thrain just being defeated. What happens next actually takes a while. There's a huge break that happens between this performance and the next one. It is a long break. You guys are able to get refreshments, bump around, speak to people, even go to different levels if you care to do, intermingle. I would even say at this point in time, Odette would notice other people that maybe stop by this floor, having to hope that they see, kind of like, I'm stopping by the second balcony and I'm bumping into people that, oh my God, there's Odette. I'm going to say hi to Odette. And going over and intermingling. And so you guys, have your fun there, or you wait for the show to get on. It is also during this time that one of the servants would come up to you, one of the people that work there. When I say servants, I don't mean like slaves. I don't mean like lower class people. I mean they just happen to be servants of the people that are serving this area, the waiters or waitresses, but servants is what they go by. So one of the servants happens to go up to each one of you and let you know that your ticket is more than just a performance in the seats. You actually also happen to have a meet and greet. So after this is all said and done, you actually get to meet with the people that are putting on the performances today, which is a rare honor. It doesn't usually happen. But you get the honor of doing so today. Moving on, you guys are able to make your way back to your seats as the lights flash and the next performance happens. This next performance, I mean, it takes... the reason why it was a long break was because it took a long time to set it up. The number of performers that are down there, it is a full-blown orchestra that is set up before you. and the performance itself is extremely long. Now, everybody is able to roll with advantage on this roll, and even Stalbor, despite his disadvantage, you can actually roll with advantage on this roll for history, please. Ollie, that was supposed to be normal, not advantage.
Wow.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was I supposed to roll with advantage or no?
Oh no,
I got
Well,
20.
Jesus
you
Well,
were,
Christ.
and you got it perfect.
Fuck.
Excellent.
Okay.
I'm just gonna
Hit with
double
the double
crit.
20.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
don't
no big
mind me.
deal.
Sadly, the meaning of this one is lost on Stalbor, but the way that the music plays, especially the second 2/3 of it, the way it plays really captures him and plays deep to his heart. He can really identify with this song, and I'll explain why in a second. The rest of you all clearly identify it, and actually, Odette, you don't just identify it, you like what the song is and what the meaning is. You know exactly who the writer of the song was. You know who put it together and everything. And you actually know beyond that the writer of this song, after they wrote the song, after they wrote this masterpiece, after they did everything they could of research to put this thing together, before it was even performed the first time, literally the morning of its first performance, they took their own life. It was later described in the Cornberg Chronicle, which is a newspaper that exists in this world, put forward by House Civis, which are the gnomish house that have the mark of scribing. The Cornberg Chronicle put forward saying that he had lived a life of depression after what it was that he had witnessed in his life and what kind of research he had to do to write this song. And if you haven't already caught this meaning because you know the history of Eberron, this song is about the day of mourning. The day that Sire, an entire country, a huge country, I mean, this thing is enormous in size. The day that Sire, the most artistic of all of the nations, the one that produced the greatest art, like whether it be music or actual like pictorial art, where Ollie thinks he's from. The day that nation blew up, literally exploded in a giant eruption of arcane fire. Nobody knows what happens that day. Nobody knows why it happens. There was a clash of many armies that were happening in the country at that time. That nation was losing almost all the battles, and everybody that was there, that was within the boundaries, were just completely eviscerated. Never to be heard from again, never to be seen again. Nobody that was within the boundaries of where the explosion happens. So in fact, after the explosion happened, there's a huge curtain of dense, thick fog that extends around the entire area. And anybody who goes into that fog to see what happened beyond, well, it's believed that none of them ever return. I mean, none of you guys know of anybody returning from it. And the stories say nobody ever returns in the past, 4 years, because that explosion happened 4 years ago, 2 years before the ending of the war. It was actually the mark of the beginning of the end of the war, 4 years ago. This song, it starts off a song that plays into like a huge battle and something like clashing of fighting and so on and so forth, the many different armies. But then there's this huge, loud, erupting sound with so many. It would sound like a screech if you weren't there in the music hall. If you were just trying to like listen to it from outside, where you didn't catch all the nuances of sound. It'd sound like a ear-piercing screech that would be painful to listen to. But the myriad again of sounds that is inside there, it tells the story of the explosion and the loss. And the next 2/3 of this, about hour and a half long performance, just is depressing and sad and pulls on your heartstrings and really, really depresses you. After the song's over, and I imagine many of your characters, if not all of them, at least tear up once during this performance, because everybody knows somebody that was affected by this. If not many people that were affected by it. If not your entire family affected by it. If not literally over 100 close relatives or friends or whatever of your own affected by it. Everybody knows somebody, because it was an entire country that blew up. That all being said, when this performance is over and everybody's wiping away their tears, there's another break that happens. There's another dimming of the lights. They have to break that down and set up for the last and final performance, which is Dane de Leander. So, with that being said, why don't we take our first break, and we'll come back after this. We have 2 more hours of the first ever episode, and we'll finally get into the RPing of the PCs of the NPCs. Woo woo. Okay. So we'll see you guys in about 5 minutes as we take our first break. Thank you very much. See you shortly.